All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our August 6, 2019 Planning Commission meeting. Before we get started, I'm going to lead everyone in the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mr. Tyler is going to lead us in invocation. So if you'll stand with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pray. Heavenly Father, we're just so thankful that you've given us a chance to serve our community. We pray that we make the best decisions we can for our city. We ask you to please be with our city leaders, our city officials, and all the city employees as they go about their daily work. Just thank you again just for everything you've given us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Again, thank you for joining us for our August 6, 2019 Planning Commission meeting. If we could do roll call.
Gary Covert, James David.
Here.
Phoebe Haney.
Here.
Shannon Mueller, Peyton Parker, Kevin Parsley.
Here.
Ben Peters.
Here.
Dale Tyler.
Here.
And approval of the minutes. Do we have any questions or comments of the last month's minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Mrs. Haney,
Second.
second by Mr. Covert. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. First item we have here is amendment to the Code of Ordinance, Chapter 32, Downtown District, Form-Based Codes, amending Section 2.1, presented by Patsy Christie.
Basically, what we have is an amendment for the properties located between Water Street and Park Street that face onto Emma Avenue. Our original plan showed all of those as being included as part of the park. We have been through a design excellence grant to design the park, and it doesn't include the park going all the way to Emma Street, so we're taking those properties back and putting them in as a neighborhood center type 2, which would be consistent with the rest of the street. That's basically what the change is now.
Okay. Any questions or comments in the audience? To the commission?
Make a motion to forward to council with a recommendation for approval.
Recommendation by Mrs. Haney,
Second.
second by Mr. Covert.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Amendment passes 7-0. Second amendment to Code of Ordinance, Chapter 130, Zoning Ordinance to amend Article 11, presented by Patsy Christie.
Okay, I don't want you guys to think I've gone crazy. I have been collecting things that needed to be defined for the last 2.5, 3 years, and finally got them in some form that we can bring them forward. One of the things we've talked about is needing to look at our commercial zoning classifications, because a lot of stuff is lumped together. Well, in order to be able to, I think, to get a good evaluation of that, we need to be able to have good definitions. So in that 48 pages that you got are a lot of things that didn't exist when the definitions were written back in the late 60s, early 70s, and so that's just what they are, as definitions that have been over the last 2 or 3 years accumulated. So I'll go over any of them that you have, or we'll just take the whole document. Now, some of them may need to be tweaked. We may still need to add some. We may, it's not a static, it's always going to be right. We may have to go back and change some. The ones that we changed over the years, like the food truck court and all those, were included in this, so they're in the definition too. So I tried to include those things that we've picked up over the years to put them in the definitions as well. So, questions from anybody? And this is a public hearing too.
Okay. Any questions or comments in the audience? I'm not going to have her read 48 pages of this, so
I can talk pretty
I'll
fast.
appreciate
but
that.
I can talk
So-
pretty fast, but that might take a while.
But these are all published out there for the public to be able to look at in more detail. Okay, no questions or comments? It's to the commission.
Make a motion to forward to council with a recommendation for approval.
Motion by Mrs. Haney,
Second.
second by Mr. Peters.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton.
Yes.
Amendment passes 7-0. I failed to cover that we do have a couple of tabled items in the conditional use area, C 19-15, Manoa Yares and Beatrice Frere, parcel 21-00167-123. It's a tandem lot split. And then there is a adjustment, 19-41 from Larry Gibson on 511 Kansas. That has been tabled per applicant. So those two things will not be heard this evening. Tabled items from last month, we have large-scale 19-15, Northwest Technical Institute, Ammonia Building, west of intersection of Turnbow Avenue, Bain Street. This also has variances for deviation of commercial design standards, 19-36, facades and exterior walls, detail features, roofs, and landscaping are the variances in consideration for this evening, presented by McClellan Consulting Engineers.
Good evening, Chris Bakunis with McClellan Consulting Engineers. I think you're all probably very familiar with this project by now, so I'm just going to jump straight into the details. After we met last month, we've gone back through and have completely redesigned this to meet the commercial design standards. We've also amended the variance request that we submitted. So I see on the agenda, it still listed some of the other things. The only thing we're asking for is a variance from the parking lot landscaping, which I'll get into here in a minute. First, I just kind of want to run you through our process with going through the design standards, as this is kind of a unique process or project. First, it's important to recognize that this building, how it will be used. The proposed building is really going to function as an accessory to the existing ammonia building. If we could flip forward maybe to the site plan, it'd probably help illustrate this. As I'm sure you probably are aware, there is an existing building directly to the east of this. That is the ammonia facility currently. This new building is going to function as an accessory to that. All the classroom space will remain in the existing facility. The new building will only be used as the lab. The only means of access to the new building will be through the existing building via a breezeway. There's going to be no other means of access into the new building.
Now, you do have dock doors on the west side that,
Yeah, and that's just to get equipment in and out. That will not be open for students to come in or out. So that said, these two buildings really function as one, and for that reason, we kind of took a step back and looked at the overall picture and how both of these properties or buildings could meet the design standards. So with the existing building, there's a lot of things that already conform to the design standards, such as the entryway features, parking lot, access, but we have added a sidewalk connection to the bus stop down at the corner of Bain and Turnbow. We've added foundation landscaping. We've added trees to the parking lot. In site amenities, we've added a bench and bike rack. However, I did mention we are requesting the variance for the perimeter landscaping around the parking lot, and that's just because it's an existing parking lot, so we feel that should be grandfathered in. For the new building, we've added several architectural features such as brick pilasters to match the existing building. We're using high-quality metal panels that display different textures and colors that will tie it into the other adjacent buildings on campus. We've also added landscaping around this building, trees next to the parking area, break area for the students, and have also identified several areas for industrial art, which is going to be pieces of restored equipment that they're going to have out there on display. So all this combined, we feel that this meets the intent of the design standards, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Staff comments?
I can say we had a really good meeting going through trying to get to a point where we could all be more comfortable with this building itself. Now, is it 100%? It's still got a few issues, but I think we've come a long ways in addressing the issues. The landscaping and taking the approach that the existing building is really the entrance into the whole complex created a different feel for the building, because the building that they're adding now is just, will have equipment and stuff in it, right?
Mhm,
All the classroom stuff stays as is. They did add some additional landscaping area between the two buildings, and that becomes kind of a student, there are places for people to go outside and sit.
Yeah, just a little break area. There'll be
Yeah,
a picnic
and
table
so
there.
they enhanced the landscaping around that rather than putting it all the way around the building itself. The sides along the street, they've added those brick columns that go all the way up past the rooftop so that you get a break in the plane of the roof. And they do have some really neat equipment that they're going to restore and put out there as part of, you know, somebody can come in and have their picture taken next to this other equipment. That was the idea of some of that. They added a couple of trees in the parking lot and the new parking lot they're building on the west side of the building. and adding some trees on, you're adding those trees on the perimeter of the parking lot that's existing?
Yeah, just to help with the heat island effect there.
When that parking lot was built, did you have to, I don't think they had to put in parking islands, because that building's been there several years.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long that's been there.
I'm not either, and quite honestly, I don't have time to go back and look. So all in all, I think they've made an effort to bring it up to a standard that's better. Now, you talked about a different quality of metal siding. You want to address that a little bit more so we know what we're talking about?
Yeah, when
Before
we,
you start that,
Mhm.
Aaron, can you go to the elevations? Do you have those loaded? The new elevations of the building? Okay, see the building that has those brick columns that go up through it? That doesn't, you can't tell a difference in the materials, the metal materials that are there.
yeah, so when we looked closer into the commercial design standards, it says that the building should conform to the aesthetics of adjacent buildings, but metal panels is also one of the items that says you can't use. And within 500 feet of this building, everything is a metal building. So trying to stick with that look that we have right there, we've used metal panels, but they're going to be nice metal panels. In other words, the ribbing on them is spread out wider. We have a couple profiles that we've included on there just to kind of show that.
The profiles on the bottom, it's a different kind. It's not the standard, my terminology is a Butler building, if you know what I mean by that. It doesn't have that look.
And I've also have a couple cut sheets I can pass around if you all would like to see them as well.
Probably similar to the building on Wagon Wheel.
I think, did you look at the building on Wagon Wheel? Because we talked about that.
No, I
as
remember
a-
you talking about it, but
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same, and quite honestly, I didn't have time to go look at it, but we can look at that building material itself. I think the whole idea with the school and Tyson's is to bring this up to a higher level than what we were looking at before.
Any other comments? Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience?
Okay, so what we would have now is the variance that's, let's just say we're granting a variance for the commercial design standards to be as presented. And you need to submit those cut sheets so we know what type of material you're talking for the metal sheets. And
Okay.
I don't know if you submit them yet or not.
I haven't. I just
Okay.
received them today,
So
but
then we
I'll
have
get those
those,
to you.
and then the variance would be for the landscaping to be shown on the landscaping plan, as they showed it on the landscaping plan.
So the metal panels are acceptable within the design standards, so
Well, I haven't seen them yet.
Yeah.
But we're gonna assume they were, and we'll have to look at it to see how it compares to those that we use at those other buildings. I haven't looked at them yet, because I didn't see them, you hadn't submitted them yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you guys can take a quick look if that helps, but I know you don't have time to review right now.
No, if it's not, we'll be back, or they'll change it to something that is.
the
Okay.
only variance is really the parking lot perimeter landscape.
Yes, they will change it to the type of metal material that we
Provided,
need.
yes.
Yes,
Okay.
okay. We're getting the yes, okay, we'll work that out.
All right, that sounds good.
Yeah. You guys still have to decide if this is acceptable.
Okay. So it's to the commission.
I would tell you, this is light years ahead of where they were last month. And I really appreciate the effort that your clients put into trying to meet the standards that we're looking for.
Any other comments, questions? So we do the variance first as far as a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote by Mrs. Haney on the variance.
David,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
Variance for landscaping passes 7-0. And large scale,
We still have a few comments that they have to provide, the all underground, all comments from other utility companies, the standard, all the standard comments, so.
Yeah, and we'll continue to work through those.
this be a motion.
Motion to approve, subject to staff comment.
Motion by Mrs. Haney,
Second.
second by Mr. Covert.
Haney,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Large scale passes 7-0.
All right,
But give me
thank you.
those cut sheets before you leave. And or give them to Debbie so I won't lose them. Okay. I'm gonna give them to Debbie so I don't have to be the one that has to keep up with them.
Thank you. Next tabled item, waiver 19-02 Dakota Riggins, 5233 Stockton Avenue, waiver sidewalk requirements, presented by Dakota Riggins. All right, we'll come back to that one. Next section is rezoning, R 19-23 Karen Hamilton, 3565 Gum Lane, from A1 to SF2, presented by Joseph Heckel.
Good afternoon. Thanks for your time today. I'm representing Karen Hamilton. As a result of her mother's failing health, she's looking for a rezone as a result of wanting to build another property or another home on this land to keep her mom close. I believe Melba Watts is now 86, and at the moment, we're zoned without the ability to put a second home on that property.
Okay. Staff
Their-
comments?
Their request is to rezone it to SF2. The adopted comprehensive land use plan indicates low-density residential use for the area. The rezoning request is in keeping with the following goals and policies of the comprehensive land use plans recommended for approval. Protect the positive aspects of neighborhood character throughout the city, assure adequate land allocation for residential purposes by providing lots of adequate size, encourage the development of a variety of housing types appropriate to the size and income of all of households living and working in Springdale.
Any questions or comments from the audience? If you'll come up to the mic and state your name and address, please.
Margarita Luna at 3370 Gum Lane. I don't mind the house. The only thing is we do live in a flood zone, and my only concern is the runoff from the water.
Okay, well, they're not addressing the drainage issue of that area. They're asking to rezone it so they can build a second single-family home. They will have to build it in accordance with the flood regulations and probably have to be built up. Are you asking for taking care of the drainage of the entire area or just this one house?
Just this one,
Okay, you think it's going to drain onto your property and make it worse?
across
or-
the street. You're right.
You live across the street?
Yes, at 3516 Gum Lane.
Okay. Yeah, I see across the
There's
street.
a duplex.
Okay, and does the water run across the street now into your lot?
No,
Okay, well, what makes you think construction of this house will cause it to run that direction?
only because it is in a higher level than ours, so it's already an incline towards the duplex.
Okay, and they will have to give an elevation certificate with this, building permit? So those issues will be dealt with in the building departments when they submit for their building permit, and we'll have to have an elevation certificate because it's in the floodplain. So,
All right, thank you.
okay,
Yeah, anytime, this is not being a subdivision as it was brought into the county, from the county, so it would have to come in as, an engineer would have to determine what that elevation was, that 2 feet above. But that's only to meet FEMA requirements. This is a weird subdivision. It's got floodway all the way around it.
it does, I know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Any other questions or comments? To the commission?
Call for the vote?
Call for vote by Mrs. Haney?
Parsley,
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Haney.
Yes.
Rezoning passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Staff will prepare the ordinance that goes to council on the 27th.
Next rezoning, R 19-24, Lori Bolin, parcel 815-29339-121, from A1 to SF2, presented by Jorgensen and Associates. Hi there.
Charles Arden with Jorgensen and Associates Surveyors. We're trying to perform a lot split on the property to create 2 single-family lots, and so we're asking for the rezoning request of the planning department. I'm here to answer any questions you guys might have.
All right, staff comments?
And you're actually asking for a tandem lot split, right?
Yeah, and
Okay.
conditional use.
Okay. The adopted comprehensive land use plan indicates low-density residential use for the area. The rezoning request is in keeping with the following goals and policies of the comprehensive land use plan as recommended for approval. Protect the positive aspects of neighborhood character throughout the city. Assure adequate land allocation for residential purposes by providing lots of adequate size. Encourage the development of a variety of housing types appropriate to the size and income of all households living and working in Springdale.
Is there anything else you have to, do we want to go ahead?
Do the tandem lot split, yeah, when we get finished with this one.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience on this rezoning? Yes, if you'll come up to the mic, state your name and address, please.
Greg Staggs, 3928 Ramsey Drive. There's a dirt road, Ramsey Drive, that runs right beside the property. Just clarification, I guess first, the splitting of the lot, any idea how it's going to be split?
Well, we have a tandem lot split coming up just after this.
Okay. And then secondly, the SF2, is that a size house for that, or is
It is a
single
lot
family?
size that requires at least 70 foot of frontage on a public street and 8,000 square feet for the individual single-family homes, and it can be single-family homes only.
Okay, but as far as the square footage of the house, there's no limitations on it?
There's
It could be
no
1,000
minim-
square foot, or it could be 5,000 square foot?
We don't have any minimum house sizes, except they have to be 24 by 24, and that's it
Okay.
in the city's ordinance.
But it's single family though, so.
Yes, single
okay.
family.
So they're proposing 2 houses on those 2 lots, is how it would be broken out. And then we'll know how it's split coming up, you said?
Yeah. The rezoning classification allows 4 units per acre if they can meet the minimum requirements for all the lot. Right now, they're splitting it into 2 lots.
2 lots, okay. And then as far as how it's gonna affect which road it's coming in on, that would come out with the split, because my road is behind.
I think they're
guess I'm-
accessing it, and Aaron, can you help me here? They're accessing it with an access easement, not accessing either one of the roads from the existing drives? Oh, you can address that? Okay.
Yeah, there's an existing access easement coming down the private drive on the eastern side of the property, so that's where the access will be coming from.
Okay,
It
so
won't be
they won't be
accessed off
coming-
Ramsey Drive,
There
no.
will be no access off
So
of
Ramsey
Ramsey.
Drive's no access.
It'll be
Okay.
come off of the other side.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? To the commission?
Call for the vote.
Call for vote by Mrs. Haney.
Peters,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Parsley.
Yes. Rezoning passes 7-0. If we can go ahead and drop down to that tandem lot split for that same one, C 19-14, Lori Bolin, parcel 815-29339-121, tandem lot split presented by Jorgensen and Associates.
You want to explain the tandem lot to us? And do we have any comments, because I don't have any in my book on any of these, so.
Yeah, we're requesting to split the 3-acre property into 2 lots. One's 1 acre, one's the remaining acreage. And there's an existing access easement down the eastern side of the property line with an existing drive to other tandem lots behind it and in that area, and it's conforming to the surrounding lots. So we're requesting an additional tandem lot.
Okay.
Dwayne Miller, Springdale Fire Marshal. This is an improved road condition where there's already 2 residential structures on there. If they put a 3rd one on or a 4th one, they'll require additional access to the area.
Meaning it has to be paved or additional
Have to meet
access?
the fire requirements. of
Well,
get-
in
getting
order to
access.
do a tandem lot split, they got to have a paved access anyway.
Okay.
You're not asking for a variance to do the paving to the access easement.
Just asking for the tandem lot split variance.
Okay, but the tandem lot split cannot, it's a conditional use, it's not a variance. The requirements of the conditional use for a tandem lot is it has to have a paved access to all the different roads. That has to be part of it, and that has to be completed before you can get the tandem lot approved, or we have to bond for it, one or the other.
Okay, is that for how many structures? For the paved road?
To create the tandem lot, you have
Okay.
to have a paved access regardless of how many number of structures on there. He's saying because there's already some on there, it'll have to be paved to a fire lane, which is what width?
20 feet wide, hardened surface, dust-free, and it has you can have 2 non-complying, so it has to come up to at least the first structure. If they build 3 structures, it'd have to come up to the second structure if they build 4 structures on the property. And then if it's over 150 feet, you have to require a turnaround for our trucks.
Were those in your comments on the tandem lot split too?
I didn't see a tandem lot split to comment on.
Okay, we'll have to get the comments to you on those then.
Thank you.
Okay? Any other questions?
Any other comments? Okay. Any questions or comments? Yep.
You're breaking it into 1 acre lot, and then, I think, is that 5 acres total? Or
3 acres total.
3 acres?
It's actually like 2.8, so breaking into 1 acre and 1.8 acre lot.
Okay, so to be single family, it has to be, how many, you can put 4?
The maximum they can put in an SF2 zone is four units per acre.
4
They
units per
have
acre.
to meet the minimum lot sizes for each one of those to be able to do that, and then they'd have to meet the fire access. If they're gonna divide it into that many lots, they'll have to do a subdivision plan.
Okay, so right now it's an acre for a house or some kind of structure, and then the other 1.8 is for just to sit on for now?
You'll have to
Potentially
come up
build
to
it-
the mic.
Come to the mic.
Sorry.
And what the plan is to build a single-family residential house in the southern acre that's back there, and then I guess the owner's going to hold onto the front half. And there's only one existing structure at the end of the drive now, so there would be 2 single-family houses on that drive. So,
There's only one house there now, right?
yes,
Okay, and they're adding a second house.
yes.
Dwayne, where'd you get more than 2 houses on there?
It may be a outbuilding that I'm seeing, ma'am.
Okay.
I don't know, I'll have to look at Ariel again, I do apologize.
And then if it's to be split again, that.
They have to come back
have to
again if
come
they're
back
gonna split it
So
again.
right now it's just that, okay. And the
Right.
house will be built on the back, the south property, south acre, that's where the acre's gonna be. Okay, all right, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, to the commission.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote by Mrs. Haney.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Staff will prepare the resolution that goes to council on the 27th.
Thank you. Do we have Dakota Riggins here? I'm going to go back to the,
That's not Dakota Riggins.
okay.
And you are representing him,
Yeah, it's actually me. He handled that project for me, but my name's Kevin Riggins from Riggins Construction.
you
And
actually own the piece of property?
yes. Well, I did. I don't today.
You're not the, do you have a letter that authorizing you to represent him?
No. I didn't even think about that because it's my bond that actually cash that I put up. Unless Dakota may have sent you guys one in.
Nope.
Dakota's my son, by the way. He did. Well, I can tell you about it real quick, then we can put it on next month's agenda, I guess,
Okay.
Patsy.
Okay, that works.
Basically, real simple. We built this house on a corner lot. And it's up there. I had been sitting on that lot for several years and finally decided to build on it. We had a young man that wanted to live in that location. We ran the sidewalk around the corner. I think we ended up stopping about 60 feet short. What had happened, I'm looking at a picture to make sure I know what I'm saying. What had happened was we're kind of getting under a time constraint, and the gentleman wanted to move in, and the city hadn't given us, they were kind of confused about how we were going to continue to extend it around the corner. We ran it around the corner, and then they had to stop. From my understanding at that point, they were like, well, where we're going to run it, how we're going to do with it, and we couldn't make the city couldn't make a decision in time, so we ended up saying, well, let's just post a bond, which I think we ended up putting up $4,500 cash. And at this point, there still has not been any decisions on where to go with it. We're happy to put in the sidewalk. Really don't feel like it's fair for us to put up $4,500 for a $800 sidewalk. So either some clarity on exactly what needs to be done, or refund that $4,500 or make it a fair amount that we could do.
Well, Carl, have y'all looked at this and determined a location for the sidewalk to come around the corner?
It says typically 1 foot inside the ordinance. That's not for us to determine.
Says what?
Right away.
1 foot inside the right-of-way, yeah. It has a drainage structure on the corner too,
It
right?
does, yep.
Okay. Okay. Either we need your representation letter next time so we can deal
I'll
with
get that from the young man that lives there, and then maybe by
Well,
then,
we can figure
y'all
out
can
what
let
to
us know what we need to do, and we can do it beforehand if possible.
And I would assume the bond amount was because you submitted, estimated amount, and it was 1.5 times, because that's what we usually do.
You know, we ended up running more than what, probably the whole sidewalk might have been that much, but I think there's about 70 feet that's unfinished, so concrete's
go
about
back and
$8
look
foot.
at it
But
and
anyway,
see.
we can look at that. Maybe if you guys let us know between now and that next, we'll just go ahead and put it in. We just need to know what to do. So,
Okay.
simple. Sorry, I didn't even think about having a letter. All right, I should know better, huh? Thanks, Patsy.
Back to the conditional uses, C 19-13, Frankie Marie Barker Revocable Trust, 2587 East Emma Avenue, tandem lot split, presented by Frankie Marie Barker. If you, okay,
Okay, but you're authorized to represent the trust? Okay.
I'm her granddaughter, Cindy Fagan.
Okay, we talked about, in order to be able to do this tandem lot split, that the property had to be rezoned. Did you all submit a rezoning application? Because we don't have one.
We haven't yet.
Okay,
Okay. We didn't even realize this had come up on the agenda until you called wanting to know if you mailed her letters.
Until I saw the
The
sign in
sign
the
in the
yard.
yard.
okay. Let's table this till next time, and you all need to come and see us because we need to rezone it before we can approve the tandem lot. So we'll table it to next month. You come see us in the next few days and we'll get the application together.
Can we ask for clarification? Because the only, I mean, we don't know that we even want or need to do a tandem lot.
Well, if you're going to
Or
split the
rezone.
property off,
Yes,
Okay.
we need
to
to
sell
do a
the house
tandem lot.
off, we
Yes,
have
do.
to go this route.
So just to sell the house off, that's what we need to do.
Because it's
But then
zoned,
it still has to be rezoned, correct?
still has to be
Okay.
rezoned because you don't have enough acreage to meet the minimum lot sizes to create 2 lots in an A1 zone. That's why it has to be rezoned.
Okay.
And then we can split it up. So we'll table it till next month.
All right, thank
Okay?
you.
Then you
bo-
need
and-
to come see us about our
and both of
rezone.
those will be done within
Right,
the same
we'll
meeting.
put both of them on the agenda at the same time, yes. Well, the rezoning won't be tabled because it hadn't been submitted.
Sure. Okay, so we're tabling 19-13.
Yes.
Next section, lot splits. Lot split 19-29, Dream Structures LLC, south side of Morris Avenue, north of County Line, presented by Dream Structures LLC.
I happen to know them, and they're not here. And so I've texted them
Okay,
to remind them they're on here, so let's give them, if y'all can
that's
come
fine.
back
I'll come
later
back
if
to
they
it.
show up.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Mayor. Next section is a final plat, 19-05, Tyson Heights Phase 2, northeast corner of Don Tyson and George Anderson Road, presented by Crafton Toll.
Good evening. I'm Taylor Lindley with Crafton Toll. This is the final plat for the second phase of Tyson Heights subdivision. I'll answer any questions you might have. Thanks.
Staff comments?
You need to add a note on the plat that lots 111 through 119 does not have access to Don Tyson Parkway. The detention pond needs to be transferred to the city. It's currently being showed as lot 122. How will it be transferred to the city? Provide an update on all utility easements to reflect public utility easements unless they are designated as exclusive to another party. On the lots clipped by the flood zone, please indicate the zone in or out. Looks like there's a gap between phase 1 and 2. What is the drive between the lots? Who owns that? Because it's not dedicated on the previous plat. Is it common area? Is it pedestrian access? What's it supposed to be? Need a corporate resolution that the individual signing or conducting the certificate of transmittal is authorized by the LLC. 50 foot of right-of-way does not meet our current master street plan guidelines for street design in the subdivision. Will there be a monument or entry sign associated with this portion of the subdivision? There's one on the other one. Are we putting a second one up for this one? And it needs to be located so we know where it is.
Yes.
And then we have the checklist that has to be completed before the final plat can be signed.
Understood.
Is that it? Any questions or comments from the audience? To the commission?
So, so with the 50-foot right-of-way, That's already poured, so what,
Well, they gotta put, there were some issues with trees and meeting that new standard that we have that's on the master street plan. I don't know how y'all intend to address that. Are you asking for just 50-foot right-of-way the way it is now?
Are we talking about for the interior streets? Those were all approved under the preliminary plat. Why would that have changed?
As part of the first phase? Okay,
Yes.
we need to go back and check that.
Yes.
No, we had discussed that because it was already done on a preliminary plat on a previous time. We're gonna leave the right of way as what
Okay,
it was.
okay, I
'cause
forgot,
it
we
was
did talk
phased,
about
yeah,
that.
so.
It's been one of those days that we've had about 75 conversations. So we'll take that comment off of there, sorry.
okay.
I didn't remember that, but I do remember now, we talked about it early this morning, so.
Motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
I have a motion by Mrs. Haney,
Second.
second by Mr. Covert.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Final plat passes 7-0.
If you want this to go to council next week, the ordinance needs to be in the, in our office by noon on Thursday.
Noon on Thursday. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next section, large-scale developments, L 18-02, KMHC LLC, southwest corner of Hale Lane and North 40th Street, presented by ESI.
Thank you, Jason Apple with ESI. This was approved as L 1802. We've made a slight plan modification. We've taken the detention from the frontage along 40th Street and moved it toward the north side of the site. And buildings remaining the same. It's a brick structure.
Can you, Aaron, can you go to the site plan? We brought this back because it is a change in the location of the detention, and also you could see that. All comments from the utility companies and other departments must be addressed prior to approval. Underground utilities, unless it's 12 kV or above. Relocate any tree planting shown within utility easements elsewhere on the site. Easements shall be filed before acceptance and approval of plans. No structure may be constructed in an access easement or drainage easement. Fences built across drainage easements shall not impede the flow of stormwater flow and must have removable panels to allow drainage system maintenance.
Okay.
Any questions or comments from the audience? To the commission?
Motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
Motion by Mrs. Haney. Second. Second by Mr. Peters.
David,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
Large scale passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next section, Board of Adjustments, B 19-37. I'm probably gonna pronounce your last name wrong on there, so Lance Lebach, 6597 Deering Road, variance for deviation of side setback from 20 to 5 feet. Variance for deviation of rear setback from 35 to 5 feet. Presented by Lance Lebach.
Yes, I'm Lance LeBach. I'm the owner of the property, asking for the variance to build a detached structure. And any questions you guys may have.
Staff comments?
What's the height of the structure gonna be?
The height of the structure will be under 35 feet.
Under 35 feet?
Yes.
And you wanna put it 5 foot from the back property line?
It'll actually be a little bit further away from 5 feet. I'd actually probably about 10 foot off the property line, but I didn't want to, once I determine exactly where I want to put it, but it'll have a distance to where I can still mow and get in beside of it. It'll be wider than 5. I just didn't want to run into any issues with, possible inspecting and all that stuff like that for the footing.
And you have to stay away from your septic system, your septic system's back there?
Correct. Septic system is on the opposite side of the house. The tank is actually on the opposite side of the driveway, and then the lateral lines run accordingly from that side over. So really, if I, to stay away from the lateral lines, to be 10 foot off of those, and if I were to be 20 foot off of the property line, that would leave me about 15 feet wide to build a detached structure. And that's a little narrower than I'd be wanting to build. So I'd like to build like a 30 by 40 structure over there.
Do you have any renderings at all of that structure?
No, well, no, I haven't went to an architect or anything
30
like
by
that.
40, and the
Yes.
height of the structure would be what, on the roof lines?
The roof line, so that's just it. I thought about putting some storage space up there, so the attic trusses that I would use would probably put me right around the rough guesstimate. I gotta match the same pitch as my house, and it's a 10-12 or an 8-12. I can't remember the exact pitch of my home, but, so, I mean, rough guesstimate, storage space, say it's 12 feet inside there, and then shop, say it's 10 foot, so about 22 to 25 feet tall.
Dwayne, from a fire standpoint, if they're building that size structure, 5 foot, will it have to have firewalls?
From the property line? No, if it's 5 foot exactly, you're fine.
It's accessory residential. Yeah. You're not gonna run a business out of it.
Y'all gonna live in it?
No,
Gonna
not gonna
have-
live in it.
It's gonna have power to it,
Yes,
and that's it?
there'll be power, and there'll be a bathroom in the garage.
Sorry?
He's gonna need a variance for height, though. He can't be over 16 feet on it.
Yeah, I know. I was getting to that next. Can't be any taller than 16 feet as an accessory structure.
Okay, didn't know that, okay.
Okay. It's really close to the property lines.
I mean, even if I can get in within 10 feet, if you guys write it up 10 feet within the property line's fine. It's just 20 is a little too far over and getting close to my lateral lines and everything.
Any questions or comments from the audience? To the commission?
We're just voting on the variance for the distance to the property line, right?
Right. All we're doing is the distances, yes, the variance for
Height.
the setbacks.
The height, you'll have to come back and.
He hasn't asked for a variance for the height. Right. That's why I asked that question, because I wasn't sure that you knew that's all you can do.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was 16. I was thinking for some reason I read somewhere it was 35 feet in agricultural zone 1, because I'm A1 zoned. And I thought it was 35 for that zoning. Single family was the one I was noticing was shorter. If I were, or RE1, I think, is the one that I was noticing that had the shorter height on it.
Well, that's something we can look up between now and then when you get a permit for it.
Okay.
The height, because it's an A1 district, not a
RE1.
resident, what's the height limitation on it?
A1 has to be incidental to the building, so it can't be taller than the house. Because, I mean, it's A1, so if you're not gonna tell people that have farms and stuff to restrict their farms and everything. When you switch to the single family and single family 2, that's when you're gonna get that 16-foot cap on all accessory buildings on any zoning up. But for any A1 district, you are allowed, it doesn't have a height requirement in that
No,
section.
it doesn't have a height
Yeah.
requirement
So-
in an A1
And I mean, it
zone,
makes
right.
sense when you think of it from an agricultural standpoint. We still allow some people to do hobby farms in some areas of the city that haven't converted up yet. And they're gonna have to have some of those larger accessory structures. But it still kind of has to be incidental to the larger house, so. And I think this area was annexed in.
It was developed before it was annexed.
Right.
That's
So
I
it's
mean, it
te-
doesn't look like an agricultural area, it's a subdivision.
We got hung up in first, it is a non-conforming, but in the non-conforming section of the ordinance, it does allow him to build an accessory structure without hindrance from the city. So we backed off on that aspect, and then he just put in his request for that. And we kind of bounced around if he rezoned, would it be better? But then he was like, ultimately, he's like, I want to do this. And he was just frank with us, and we're like, well, we don't know if it'll get approved, man. That's a big setback. We talked about some other alternatives of attaching it to the house with a roof line, considering one structure, but, I mean, he's requesting what he wants to request, so.
You're right, there is no height restriction in A1 zone.
Did I hear you say you're okay with 10 foot for setbacks for the side and the back?
Yes, I'd be okay with 10-foot sides. Like I said, I've not located exactly where I'm going to put it, but even within 10 foot off the property line, I'd still be able to work with that.
Okay, so are you revising your request to be 10 foot instead of 5, or do you want them to vote on the reduction from 20 to 5 and 35 to 5?
I'd just like to leave it the way it is, the 5 and 5, and
Okay, he's asking you to vote on
just,
that.
yeah, just
Okay.
vote on that at this point.
Sure you want to do that?
If you are denied, your only appeal is to court. You can't,
Oh, really?
Yeah, you'll have to come back and file another variance request if you are denied that reduction to 5.
Okay, that's 10, we'll change it to 10 feet then, that's fine.
That's kind of what you're being encouraged to, okay.
Side and back?
Side and back to, so that the side would be from a 20 to 10 and the back would be from 35 to 10.
Correct.
Okay.
We'll leave
That's
it-
the variance we're gonna call for a vote. Both sides. Right now, you're asking for each side to be varied down to 10 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, it didn't give me an option to left or right side, it just said sides, and then I'm, obviously have the septic system on the other side, so I can't do anything with it.
Okay.
So both side setbacks would be reduced to 10, and the rear setback would be reduced to 10.
Okay. Do we want to take these together or separate?
Together.
Together? This would be a call for the vote.
So, can we do just one side, or do you have to do both sides?
He's requesting both sides.
Because he's not sure where he's going to place it yet in the backyard.
Oh, he said one side he can't touch because of the septic, but it's these. So, correct? You said one, you
Yeah,
know
one-
what side you're putting it on.
Correct, just on one side. The form didn't allow me to break out left or right, it just said
So
sides, fronts, and
Can we
backs.
designate the side that you're gonna, is that all right?
Well, you can ask if he wants to.
Yeah, he
If
knows.
sewer came into it and he would run it on the side where the septic system is, he wouldn't be able to get an easement on top of that sewer line either, so. I would assume you would run the sewer to the same side where your septic tank is.
Correct, yeah, it'd be on that west side of the house. So right now, it's currently out the west side, going to the south of the property, but if sewer were to come down the street, I'm assuming that's where it would come through, then it would run west side to the north of that
Then you would
street.
have the rest of the back where your lateral lines is to expand to 10 feet on that side. But
Yeah.
then you get into a maximum coverage area, but.
Correct.
The question is, do you want to narrow it down to one side or the other? Do you want 10 feet on both sides?
And that's
On-
fine, we can narrow it down to the east side too. That doesn't bother me. Like I said, I
Okay.
can't do anything with the west side anyway.
East side 7, okay? So
Okay, we
now
have a
it's,
variance for a deviation of east side setback from 20 feet to 10, and then a variance, deviation of rear setback from 35 to 10.
right.
Okay.
Correct. Correct.
And we want to take these together. This would be a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote by Mrs. Haney?
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton.
Yes.
Variance is passed 7-0.
Okay, now if you want it, the height restriction, never mind, went away, sorry.
Okay. Anything else on that one? Okay, thank you. B 19-38, Lazaro Trejo, 2975 East Robinson Avenue, variance for deviation of distance between drives from 150 feet to 115, presented by Jorgensen and Associates.
Charles Arden with Jorgensen and Associates. The owner is requesting to install 2 drives on their site. There's existing 4 driveways on there right now, so it would be, I guess, limiting the access on there. But there's some limiting factors to the width between those 2 drives, so that's why we're requesting the variance of the 150 foot.
Staff comments?
So we're eliminating 2 drives. We have 4 now, we're going down to 2.
Yes.
And they'll be 115 feet apart instead of 150. Making it better because we're getting rid of 2 driveways.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience? It's to the,
I can't, no, can you,
The middle 2 are going away and we're keeping the outer 2, is that right?
Well, I think they'll be creating 2 completely new.
Two new ones.
new
All 4 of
curves.
those are going away. We're putting
Yeah,
2
we're
new
getting,
ones
I mean,
in.
that's when Mr. Trejo, he's been working with us for like a year, and we got to a project, we had a non-large scale and got everything approved, but a fire hydrant has kind of thrown everything off. We had the drives all the way to the opposite ends to where we met ordinance, and all those were going to go away, and we were going to have 2 standard drives. One was going to meet fire code for access, so everything was going to get upgraded. And then the fire hydrant, I think, kind of threw us off. So when they went to redesign, they were like, the only way we can get it, because it was right on the adjacent property, like edge of the property, was to come in a little bit. And I mean, staff kind of feels we're still going to benefit to that area because of the amount of curb cuts, and there's just no development there. And he's a small businessman, is allowed to continue his project, but this is kind of the last remaining feature of that development plan. So.
Okay, it's to the commission.
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote by Mr. Covert.
David,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
Variance passes 7-0. Next item, B 19-39, Michael Swaim and Tara Love, 3805 Natalie Avenue. Variance for deviation of side setback from 8 feet to 6 feet. Variance for deviation of rear setback from 20 to 11 feet. Presented by Tara or Michael.
Yep, I'm Tara.
Okay.
And we're replacing the shed that conveyed with the property when we purchased it in 2003. And we're requesting to maintain the current setbacks. The shed is set 11 feet from the back and 6 from the side.
How big is the shed?
It's a 12 by 10 now, and it's gonna be a 16 by 20. It's gonna be the same, it's gonna be on blocks, wood, shingle roof. It's just different size.
So it will be portable?
Yes. It's gonna be built on site, but it can be transferred on the road.
Does it have utilities to it?
Eventually electric.
Any other questions or comments? Any questions or comments from the audience? It's to the commission.
I think this one, it backs on the school, so you have nobody building behind you, with the school track behind you. And then it's probably in line with the other sheds that are back there.
Right,
in-
there's a
in
bigger
the
one
other
next to us.
properties, okay.
And next to us on the other side.
Call for the vote,
We're taking both variances together?
yes.
Okay, call for vote by Mrs. Haney.
Haney,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Variance passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Next item, B 19-40, Marcy Chavez, 2172 North Thompson. Variance for deviation of commercial design standards, perimeter parking area landscape represented by Bates and Associates.
Hi, my name is Christian McGuire with Bates & Associates.
Staff comments?
Tell us what you want to do.
We just want a variance to keep from putting the landscaping in the gas easement that's located in the rear of the property. There's a big 50-foot gas easement. If we can just get to the landscape plan would be the best way to see it.
Are you proposing to move that landscaping to another location, or totally eliminating it?
No, just totally eliminate at the rear in that easement. There are 2 trees that we're proposing on either side of the easement. And then the additional landscaping that goes along with the landscaping ordinance.
Aaron, you guys have some comment? I can't comment on this one because I haven't done much review on this one, so. Aaron, can you or Austin comment on this one? Please.
So the gas easement in the rear is what you guys want to deviate from, right? Correct. I mean, we have a section in our ordinance at our landscape, chapter 56, that says they just present a plan that shows where those are alternatively moved. If he's not wanting to alternatively move those or present a plan, then you all can vote and they'll, decide whether or not he can deviate from that. I mean, we're not going to allow him to put anything in an easement just because it impacts our utilities, and that's what our ordinance says. So I guess it's if you want to actually deviate, or if you want, then you'll go this route to vote with them. or if you want to come and relocate and move them to other locations or something of that nature. I think Austin was saying there's existing trees on site as well, so.
They're on the south, and we've applied the perimeter landscaping along the north. I just
Yeah.
can't see another place to alternatively put them.
Right.
And,
So I guess what I'm asking is if you want to go the variance route and deviate from the back requirement, or if you want to evaluate it with staff and see if you can move them to another location where the ordinance allows us to give you that relief for moving it around and working with you because of site constraints.
I would like to go the variance route.
Okay. So he just wants to deviate from the back requirement.
So what's on that plan up there is all the landscaping we would get?
Yeah, so you're talking about for the rear, we're probably missing 3 trees, maybe 4. Does that feel right, Austin? Yeah.
And shrubs?
For the perimeter, I don't think we have a combination of that, if it depends on the screening requirement for the uses, but not that far off from where we're supposed to be. I mean, that's a pretty good landscaping plan on the rest of the lot, so. And then, like I said, there's some existing trees too that, if they are part of the screening aspect, we can use as long as they're healthy and they maintain enough screening, but, yeah, so it'd just be for that back portion. Do you have any other questions for me?
I just had a question on, I mean, if there's existing trees and they do stay, there's a risk as far as the disturbing of the soil.
Right.
That they will die.
Absolutely.
If that happens, what requirement do they have as far as meeting the landscape?
If they use those to meet their requirement, like a good example is with Sam's Furniture. They tried to use the existing trees in the back, and they had to come back and plant some more to meet that requirement. So we just, if they, we just evaluated it as the development was going up and everything, and I think it was Joe Pfeiffer we were working on with Craft and Toll, and they came back in and we were like, yeah, that's not going to meet our requirement, and they installed more. So we would just engage that at that time. I mean, the standard still stays with it. So.
Sure.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's something to take in consideration, that you're just talking about trees as far as what needs to go in here, but.
Right.
Just given the positioning of the building, I mean, if some of the existing meet some of those requirements, I'm good with it, but if they also become too disturbed, definitely would need to meet the additional requirements there. So,
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience? It's to the commission.
Call for the vote.
Call for vote by Mr. Covert.
I also would like to point out that building is existing. I don't anticipate a lot of disturbance there in that area where those existing trees are.
Okay.
I have a quick question. Have you added, did you say you added landscaping to the lot or?
We have. Yeah, we have the frontage landscaping and then the one tree every 25 feet there on the north. And then mixed in as well with the existing trees on the south. And then those 2 on the northwest corner, we just stopped from putting any inside that 50-foot easement. Because when we looked at the aerial, it was all dirt and looked like those guys come through there and do what they do to fix gas lines. Trying to save some trees.
Okay, so this is a call for a vote by Mr. Covert.
Parsley,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Eiler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Haney.
Yes.
Variance passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next section is waivers 19-03. I'm sorry, I should have done this one earlier on it, so. Karen Hamilton, 3565 Gum Lane, waiver of site requirement. My apologies, I just overlooked that, I would have put it with the other.
No problem, no problem. Thanks for your time again. So what basically I explained earlier with regards to them needing a second residence on this property. They're paying cash for it. She's depleting her life savings to get this second home for her mom to be close because they can't afford nursing. So in the event that we are mandated to put a sidewalk in, I don't have it in their build budget at all, and that would negate the ability for them to have this home, which puts them into a different situation entirely with regards to Melba Watts, the landowner's mother. So I'm representing her as her builder just because I know exactly where the build budget is. It literally would disable them from being able to have this residence if they're mandated. Now, I'll point out the rest of the street, there's no sidewalks. And in a flood zone where we're putting a house on stilts already, it's not on a pad, we would have to build up the sidewalk. And if there's no other sidewalks, then I don't know what risks we're putting involved with people using it and then the adjacent property being vacant. There's no sidewalk there. So that's just a few of the factors that would hopefully have you voting in my favor, that it's not in the best interest of the landowner to put a sidewalk in. They're literally 500 meters from a farm at the end of the road, and there's no through traffic here.
Staff comments?
I don't support usually sidewalk waivers, maybe payment in lieu of improvements for this because there aren't any sidewalks in that location.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience? To the commission?
So they could do, what, if they were not gonna do payment in lieu of, and they did
They could do a
bill of assurance, what's a price on a bill of assurance?
It's just a bill of assurance that's filed as a lien on the property. When and if the city was to put a project in, it would be called at that time and they would be responsible to pay
So-
for their portionate share.
So there would be no financial outlay, but it would be a lien on the property that at some point if sidewalk went through, it would have to be done at that time. And so, looking at it, you think it's never gonna go through there, that would be, because you're in an area where we've put a substantial investment in parks and housing is going up all over.
Sure.
How wide is this lot? We're only talking about the lot for the new house, right? The
Yes, sir.
existing house is grandfathered. So how wide's the new lot?
Well, we just voted to keep that all one lot, and I'm gonna put a
Okay.
second house on
Two
it.
lots on, they're not gonna divide it
oh,
into two lots, so
sorry.
it would be the entire.
Okay.
Now, they could come back and split it and put two separate lots in there and then only have to do one. But if it stays as one lot, they have to do the entire length of both of it.
We rezoned it so it could have two.
You can meet the area requirements to have two principal structures on one lot. That's the
Right.
frontage and the.
We
and
have
the
that,
area.
that additional ordinance guideline that, if you can plat it out, like if you can set the houses on the lot, they meet the setbacks and everything would be kosher as if you platted it out, then we have a relief for one additional structure to be put on there if it meets frontage and everything else. And as you see, I mean, it's almost a standard block lot design. And, so it just worked out. We were lucky when she came in, because we were kind of worried it wasn't going to work out from zoning standpoint, but it's actually perfect. I mean, for SF2, so that's why they came in and did the rezone, so they could go ahead and add that additional one on there. So, but yeah, but it still will be one parcel. That's why they're going to be paying with cash, because they wouldn't have anything to loan against on that other lot. So
we can vote it on it as far as a waiver as is, or an option that's been brought up is bill of assurance.
And it goes to council and council makes the final decision. You made your recommendation, council. Whether you're recommending that the waiver be granted or they be asked to do a bill of assurance.
So I could make a motion amending a bill of assurance?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
We have a recommendation for a bill of assurance. Or do I have a recommendation for the existing waiver?
Second bill of assurance.
We have a recommendation for bill of assurance and a second by
Okay.
Mr. James Davis.
Are we ready?
Yes, yeah, I was recommending a bill of assurance.
Yeah, you're making the motion to recommend to council the bill of assurance, and he seconded. Now that's what we're voting on. Right.
Peters,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Parsley.
Yes.
Staff will prepare the resolution. It goes to council on the 27th, and you have a chance to make your case to the council. Council decides which way it's going to go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me go back. Dream Structures? Okay. So we have lot split, Dream Structures, south side of Morris Avenue, north, Avenue north of County Line, presented by Dream Structures.
Okay, you want to explain to us what we're trying to accomplish here?
Yep, we purchased that entire dark bordered area, and it was 4 parcels of land, and there's 2 houses across the front there on County Line that were on 1 parcel. And there's a church to the west that the pastor had tried to buy from the lady that we bought all the land from. And so we've agreed to split those front 2 houses apart and sell him the 1 house. So it'll be a part of the church parsonage, or a church member would live in it. He's the pastor now that lives in it.
Can we get your name for the record?
Steve Fisher.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
Dream Structures.
So basically, you're splitting off that little house in the corner right there to go to, so that it can be sold to the church, and the rest of it remains with the tracts as they
Correct.
are split now?
Correct.
Is there sewer to this piece of property?
Can you increase the size of that? Can you blow that up at all?
I don't know if you can or not. We got it as a PDF, right?
Well, you're a little closer than I am. There is an existing utility easement to the north of the church property on the west of us. A lot of buttons to push. There we go. If you can scroll to the west there, there's a UE across right there on north of the property, and then we're dedicating a 15-foot UE from that point to the back of this proposed lot split. So we're gonna propose developing the large portion, bring it into city, and tie on there. Of course, we'd put a manhole there and continue for our usage as well, but we
Okay.
will
Part of
put
this
his.
property is in Bethel Heights, correct? Have you, and we don't extend sewer service outside the city limits into Bethel Heights. Are you requesting to come out of Bethel Heights and to come into Springdale?
Not yet, not tonight, but that will be the plan.
But the question is, how do you get sewer to this if that hasn't happened?
Well, we're not developing the other part for now.
Well, but how does that existing house, does it have a septic tank?
It has septic, yes.
Okay, is that septic system contained on that lot that you're creating?
Not completely.
Okay, then we got an issue there too. The septic system has to be either contained on the lot that you're creating, or you have to get sewer to it in another method. We can't do it both ways. So that has to be addressed before we can split this off. Of course, there's some things that we need that are just the standard comments, but that's the biggest issue of how does that lot exist? It doesn't have sewer and the septic system's not all on that lot.
Well, it being in Bethel Heights, if I were to bring the sewer over to my property line and put a manhole there, we can handle this property now.
Have you worked that out with Springdale Water?
I've talked to Mike down there.
The question I asked, have you worked it out so we know that that's what will work? You may have talked to Mike, but do we know that's what's gonna happen? And is that reflected on your plan so we know that this piece of property is going to have sewer?
Well, we've prepared with the UE for that, because there is an existing UE that we can tap into the sewer line that services a subdivision behind the church. So there is existing utility easements. We're dedicating an easement for this house, And so, yeah, we've prepared for that.
Okay,
Is this ready for lot split tonight?
what it's gonna come down to is Springdale Water's not gonna approve it, and you're not gonna get done until Springdale Water approves it. So if we approve it conditioned upon these comments tonight, it may be a while before you get it done, because Springdale Water's gonna have to work this out. Or you're gonna have to detach from Bethel Heights, and we figure out how to do that. You're kind of in a limbo situation, because part of it is in Springdale, and how will it be served by sewer? Either Bethel Heights has to concur to let this come out, or, I can't answer that for you, because I don't know all
Well,
the
the
details.
house, yeah, the house is in Springdale,
But if
right?
if the septic system is not on the lot that you're creating a lot that doesn't have sewer service. And you adjust the size of the lot to, how much of more area do you need to get all that septic system in there?
Probably quite a bit. I mean,
Okay.
lateral field's pretty big, and it's gonna be sewer within, some months, so.
Well, I would suggest we table this until you get the sewer worked out, and we know how it's gonna go, and where the easements are gonna be, and Springdale Water has sign-off on it before we move forward, or you can have it approved, and it's just gonna sit there till that gets done.
Can we get it approved tonight, and then I can go to work with Mike
Well,
at the
that's
city?
subject to whether you all are comfortable with that. We're leaving a lot, a major issue out there that hasn't been addressed.
Well, obviously, it wouldn't be officially approved until the city, till the water department signs off.
You're asking us to vote on something, so we would be officially voting on something that we don't really understand. Everything's in the place that it needs to be. We don't have the permissions at this point.
Well, there's existing utility easement, and we're gonna tie on to utility easement that Springdale Water services. There is an existing easement there.
Well, if we're doing this as a final plat, technically, you gotta have the sewer service there before we can approve the sewer service to it, or Springdale Water has to allow you to bond for it. Have they indicated whether they let you bond for it, so you could go ahead and do it later?
I haven't got that far.
Okay. My point, we haven't got all of.
We would probably just put it in, just be done with it, put it
And then
in.
when it's in, we can come back and do this, and it's not a problem. Right now, we don't have a situation where we know that that's gonna go forward.
Unless I get an approval from the,
We
The
table
water
it for a
department?
month. You have a way to work out with Springdale Water. They allow you to bond for it, or it's in by that time, and then we can move forward with it then. This
Okay.
Bethel Heights situation is really kind of unique right now.
okay?
That's a problem, too.
Okay, so
Okay.
we're tabling this until
And we need to get with Springdale Water and figure out how this can move forward.
Okay, sounds good, thanks.
All right, director's report?
Work session on the 20th. Mr. Gibson will be prepared to come and talk about what he's looking at for his area over there, the variance that was tabled. And we will continue our discussion about the master street plan so we can get to a point where we can bring something forward for public hearing and shoot for a public hearing in September or October at the latest.
Does the 20th work for everyone?
It's our regular, and it's after school starts, so we don't have that. And that's all I have.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
This work session.